Welcome to the Department of Veterans Affairs Federal Webinar. We will begin the webinar with a brief overview of Veterans Affairs, then go into VA Fiduciary Service. In his second inaugural address, Abraham Lincoln stated, "To care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan." This statement addresses the philosophy which has guided Veterans Affairs as well as its functional and organizational forerunners in dealing with veterans, especially those disabled. Based on projection project data at the end of fiscal year 2017, VA was set to serve almost 20 million veterans and dependents. VA is separated into three sub-agencies. First, the Veterans Health Administration, which provides medical and dental care to veterans and eligible dependents. Next, National Cemetery Administration, which honors veterans and their eligible family members with final resting places in national shrines and with lasting tributes that commemorate their service and sacrifice to our nation. And finally, Veterans Benefits Administration, which administers the benefit payments to veterans and dependents. The focus of this webinar is fiduciary service. Fiduciary service is under the Veterans Benefits Administration and it is designed to protect the nation's most vulnerable veterans and beneficiaries. More specifically, VA beneficiaries who, as a result of injury, disease, or the infirmities of advanced age, or by reason of being less than 18 years of age, are unable to manage their VA benefits are part of the fiduciary program. VA does not just protect benefits and appoint fiduciaries. We also ensure the beneficiaries are cared for and their needs are being met. We accomplish this through continued oversight of both the beneficiaries and their fiduciaries. In fiscal year 2016, we oversaw almost $3.3 billion in benefits to beneficiaries. At the end of fiscal year 2017, VA Fiduciary Program had 195,410 beneficiaries in the program, with the majority of those at 111,339 being veterans. The service provides oversight for VA-derived incomes listed below when required. Compensation service is a benefit paid based on an injury or disease occurring during military service and or aggravated by service. Pension service provides monthly benefit payments to certain wartime veterans with financial need and their survivors. Insurance service provides monetary payments to beneficiaries of life insurance policies upon death of a veteran. And finally, education service, which provides monetary assistance for veterans and family members through numerous GI Bill programs. However, fiduciary service rarely has oversight over this program. The two primary types of income in the fiduciary service are survivor's pension with 73,361 beneficiaries and compensation service with 61,548 beneficiaries. VA fiduciary service has numerous responsibilities to the beneficiaries served. First is assessing the ability to handle funds and personal welfare of the beneficiaries. Assessing the ability of the beneficiaries ensures that those that are in the program actually require the assistance and then also have all their needs being met on top of that. As part of the responsibility of the VA fiduciary program, field staff is required to participate in training that encompasses all types of abuse and neglect and financial exploitation. The training consists of general information and signs to look for that indicate abuse and neglect. We also determine, select, and qualify a fiduciary. The beneficiary maintains their right to select their fiduciary. However, VA also has to ensure the person requested is qualified to handle the beneficiary's money. The qualification process includes a willingness to serve, a criminal background check, credit history check, a face-to-face meeting with the proposed fiduciary, and a willingness to serve and follow VA stipulated regulations, policies, and procedures. Most beneficiaries have family members serving as their fiduciaries. As part of the appointment process, we instruct the fiduciary regarding expenses and standard of living. A VA employee instructs the fiduciary on prioritizing bills to ensure the basic needs are met first, then the beneficiary's wants and desires. One of the key principles of this includes informing the fiduciary that the beneficiary is entitled to a standard of living equal to someone not served by the fiduciary program. VA is dedicated to ensuring beneficiaries in the program receive the best service possible and live as well as others. Also, VA is responsible for protecting the beneficiary and the funds under management. VA income is protected from any claims on creditors. Therefore, the fiduciary program ensures the fiduciary is aware of this and protects those benefits so that the benefits can be utilized for the beneficiary's care and needs. As part of the program oversight of VA fiduciaries, some fiduciaries are required to maintain protection of all accumulated VA funds the fiduciary holds. As part of the protection, we also include the fact that the fiduciary is required to protect the beneficiary's personal identifiable information from any kind of fraud or from any other person seeing it. We also ensure that the entitlement rights of the beneficiary are met. Being part of VBA, the fiduciary program field staff actually ensure the beneficiaries are receiving any and all benefits VA has to offer, to include health care, additional monetary benefits, home loans, possible assistance in employment, and much more. In some situations, the fiduciary serves in the fiduciary capacity for other federal monies, to include Social Security and military retired pay. VA attempts to ensure the fiduciary is also serving and protecting entitlements to those benefits also. VA field staff work on location in areas where beneficiaries reside. Therefore, they are responsible for being informed of any state and local resources available to beneficiaries in need of additional resources. In situations where field staff are unsure of available resources, the field examiners in their area direct fiduciaries and or beneficiaries to the Veterans Health Administration social workers or other local community resources to assist in meeting any unmet needs. As part of our oversight requirement, VA is required to maintain oversight on a fiduciary. Oversight includes reviewing accounts for possible misuse of benefits. VA benefits are designed for the needs and wants of the beneficiary's independence. VA benefits used outside a beneficiary's needs and wants are considered misuse. Each situation is reviewed for individual merit as to whether misuse exists. Conducting on-site review of fiduciaries serving multiple beneficiaries. There are certain instances where beneficiaries do not have a family member or friend available to serve as fiduciary. In those situations, VA may appoint a professional or an organization. When that fiduciary reaches a certain prescribed threshold, triannual visits to the offices of the fiduciary are required in addition to regular visits with the beneficiary and fiduciary to ensure that fiduciary is appropriately performing duties. VA does not just serve in the fiduciary capacity, we also have additional responsibilities to VA. In certain other situations, VA services can request fiduciary service specifically to assist in non fiduciary matters to ensure the beneficiaries are safe, receiving appropriate benefits, and any other additional reasons staff deems appropriate. Misuse of VA benefits. As previously indicated, VA considers any instance where a fiduciary does not address the needs, wants, or desires of the beneficiary within their means as a possible instance of misuse. VA accepts allegations from beneficiaries and concerned third parties. There are two types of allegations: a direct accusation where a specific person or agency indicates misuse is suspected, and prima facie evidence. Prima facie indicates that a fiduciary is refusing to comply with rules and regulations to submit an annual accounting. The actual most common type of allegation is the prima facie allegation. In fiscal year 2017, VA received an increase in misuse allegations with increased technological capabilities. To ensure VA is providing proper oversight, most prima facie allegations automatically establish in the IT system. Less than half of the allegations VA received last year were determined to have misuse actually occur. And as you can see, we do get a large amount of allegations at VA. However, like was stated, less than half of them actually show that misuse was actually found. Here are two examples of misuse cases that VA has had. The first one, fiduciary service received an allegation from Veterans Health Administration social worker indicating a patient admitted for malnutrition. The beneficiary had a family member as fiduciary, and the social worker stated the beneficiary received no funds from the fiduciary and did not have enough food to survive on. VA investigated the allegations and determined that the fiduciary was neglecting the beneficiary. The fiduciary was not providing adequate funds or using the funds appropriately. The fiduciary was removed from service based on not using the VA funds appropriately to address the wants and the needs of the beneficiary. A second one is a fiduciary having served for years was in good standing, typically submitting the annual accountings timely with minimal corrections required. There were no complaints from the beneficiaries being served about not having needs met or late payments. VA was notified by the bank that there were some irregularities in the fiduciary accounts held by this particular fiduciary. The bank directly provided financial statements for the fiduciary account. Based on these statements, VA discovered the fiduciary was altering statements that were submitted to VA to match other required accounting documents. VA found misuse on the fiduciary and changed policy based on the altered bank statements. This is not the first case where altering bank statement has come into play. With increased technology, changing bank statements only takes minimal skills. VA is trying to stay ahead of this issue so that our beneficiaries are taken care of in the best way possible. Now the program has the ability to look back at all accounting periods of a fiduciary accused of misuse to ensure the accountings were actually appropriate. We are also working to strengthen our authorizations to directly review information from banks and to increase our relationships with financial informations to prevent this from happening further. Reissuance of misused VA benefits. Under United States Code, VA has the ability to reissue certain funds misused by VA appointed fiduciaries. Specific criteria must be met for this to occur. The specific criteria is indicative of VA not fulfilling their responsibilities for oversight, including including failure to timely review an accounting or address an allegation of misuse. Also, if any action or lack of action taken by VA contributed to the overall misuse of any benefits, which consist of failure to require a fiduciary to maintain protection of funds or failure to fully investigate. Since 2013, VA has successfully reissued over $12 million in funds to beneficiaries whose benefits were misused. VA regularly reissues funds to beneficiaries to make them whole following misuse. Two of larger cases in which VA has been able to reissue benefits are provided. A veteran contacted VA indicating the fiduciary stole funds from him. VA completed an investigation and determined a similar fact pattern based on service policy and procedures. All beneficiaries served by the fiduciary were reviewed, and the same pattern was seen in other fiduciary cases. The fiduciary was charging unauthorized fees at the outset of the case. VA reissued $234,838 to several beneficiaries based on the misuse finding. As indicated previously, the most common allegation of misuse is failure of the fiduciary to submit annual accountings. In this case, the fiduciary failed to provide annual accountings and was removed from serving all beneficiaries. Following the removal, the fiduciary refused to turn over the remaining VA funds held. The fiduciary continued to charge the beneficiary large fees for fiduciary services. At the conclusion of the investigation, VA determined that the fiduciary misused benefits and was able to reissue to various beneficiaries $106,138.96. VA fiduciary program is continually striving to increase safeguards to assist and protect the elderly. However, other programs with VA also have safeguards in place to make sure that they are cared for appropriately. One of the big components that is used is education. Each VA administration and service provides additional education to both staff and beneficiaries about abuse, neglect, and exploitation. Education is the starting point and a key to the prevention. Predictive analytics. Several VA programs have predictive analytics to utilize to ensure the protection of beneficiaries. The programs identify anomalies and trends that could possibly be related to fraud. And finally, collaboration. VA routinely collaborates with other federal agencies and shares information so that the most current trends in fraud are known and reviewed. These collaborations include information sharing with Social Security Administration, Consumer Financial Protection Board, and active participation in the Elder Justice Coordinating Council. As the abuse and neglect of the elderly becomes more and more prominent, VA is staying current as best uh, that it can to ensure the protection of all of our veterans and beneficiaries.